it's interesting, if you look at the original statute from the 1960s, preemption occurred for lower but not higher than. So you can create a minimum wage that is higher than the state base, but you cannot create one that is lower. Okay, with the exception of 14 and 15-year-olds, we granted discretionary authority to the Department of L&I to carve out a teen wage, although they have not done it. But yeah, it doesn't. Unfortunately, it's one of those revolving doors that only spins one way. Yes, sir.
I'm looking at this book here, trying to figure out, this is the Constitution of Washington State.
Never heard of it.
Trying to figure out, do cities and localities really have the power to interfere with the employee-employer relationship and set conditions, including minimum wage?
Well, there is not a commerce clause, okay, at the state level, okay? And a lot of times when we run into these type of tinkerings at the federal level, you can go with, preemption doctrine under the Commerce Clause. There is not such a similar clause in the state constitution, although obviously several state judges, including your Attorney General, have argued that municipalities can opt out of the marijuana provision. So the best answer I can tell you is that this is, somewhat unsettled law. However, okay, do I believe that there's any court in the state of Washington that's going to tell Seattle that they can't adopt a sick and safe leave, that they can't adopt higher minimum wages? No. And even if you did find one judge, it would be immediately overturned by our current state Supreme Court. So it's a political non-starter, and it's just, it would be great for a con law class to debate it at this level, but from a reality perspective, no. Any other questions? Yes.
What do you think is the House Republicans, and I know in regards to the making certain concessions on the minimum wage? I know AWP is possibly putting together some recommended legislation that would incorporate medical insurance to be part of those wages and such. What do you detect as the mood? Do you think it's likelihood that something is going to pass the House?
Well, it will pass the House. The question is, how many votes will it pass the House with, right? Will it be 51 Ds and 0 Republicans, or will Republicans cross over, and will there be a substitute where they offer this package, and how many people would take that? Really can't speak to that. One of the things about getting a bigger caucus, and we've had great success, you may know one of our new members, is that we become a more diverse caucus, right? It's like, it's very easy to predict the Republican caucus's behavior when we're 30 members and we're all from Eastern Washington, right? Easy to predict, utterly ineffectual, but as you expand into, more purple areas, we are a more diverse caucus, we are more, heterogeneous, and we have different views and we have different constituents. So we haven't had a tough vote yet with this new 47 members. We've voted on very minor things, so I think that only time will tell where we're going to come down as a caucus in general.
I guess the more appropriate question then is, your colleagues in the Senate, do you hear from them or get any sense of how it would play over there?
I try to meet with Senator Baumgartner as often as I can. We have not had a specific conversation on minimum wage. We were going to kind of do that today, and then he got tied up on some floor votes. But we were kind of all waiting to see, to be honest with you, what Ross Hunter was going to do in appropriations. Because remember, last year, everybody talks about this, but remember, the Democrats killed the minimum wage bill last year, not us. I would have been happy to take credit for it, but the minimum wage bill made it out of the Labor Committee, and it went to appropriations, and the Democratic chair said, I can't afford this. Because we often forget, guess who pays minimum wage? Government pays a lot of minimum wage to their employees. So there was a significant fiscal note, and he said, I can't put this in my budget, and then saved his members from that vote. This year it's different. He is sending it out, and so,
Unions pay their staff us minimum wage.
yeah, I know. All right, so are we good? Okay, thank you so much for having me. You guys are a great help to all of us.